Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the latest in the NORA Webcast series. As you well know, as regular viewers will know, NORA Webcast series is a series of shows where we look to get behind the scenes with organisations that are involved in the National Online Recruitment Awards, the National Online Recruitment Academy, of course. That includes companies who have been finalists, winners, or indeed, in today's case, companies who have been behind developing the very best recruitment websites out there that have become award worthy. So without too much further ado, my very, very special guest today is Darren Curtis, who is Enterprise Sales Director with Volcanic. Volcanic have built more than a substantial, probably more than the fair share of the finalists and winners in the past 5 or 8 years for the NORAs. So let's bring Darren on screen right now. Darren, good morning. How the devil are you?
Hi, Stephen. Yeah, very well, thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Fantastic. Thanks for joining us today. I've been a big fan of Volcanic for a long time, and there's a strata, if you like, of companies in the UK who focus particularly on recruitment websites, and there are differences obviously between different organisations, but Volcanic I think are really quite distinctive in not only the look of the volcanic sites, not that they're the same, but that they are all quite distinctive, but also the technology and the thinking that goes into behind them. So I'm really glad that you've joined us today. Again, as I say, the companies who are involved in the development of recruitment websites, they are not so much pulling the strings, but they're writing the book on what candidates come to expect when they visit recruitment websites. If a candidate went to an agency website in 2000, for example, it would be really pretty basic and sparse. That you'd have a logo, you might have some job listings and so on, but it hadn't really evolved in terms of how we engage with candidates. And from a NORA point of view, we're all about the candidate experience, how candidates come to a website with a set of expectations and how you meet and maybe exceed those. So how is business with Volcanic right now?
I think with any business at the moment, it's challenging. You know, we were hit by COVID as everybody else was, and we had a period of lull, but we're starting to see sort of back-to-back improvements month to month. So fantastic. Yeah, we're seeing more and more clients that have started to unfurlough or defurlough staff, which means marketing teams are coming back online, and we're a bit busier than we certainly were back in May time. But we're holding great hope that it's a sign of recovery, and I always think that when the recruitment market recovers, then the economy recovers, but also we're a good barometer of it as well. So if recruitment businesses are spending money with us, hopefully that's a good sign. So hopefully that's a good sign. It seems to be the case. We're on an upward trajectory.
Yeah, with so many people working in different locations, whether it's from home or anywhere else, but not able to be in the office or not meeting people in person in the same way, then the emphasis with all businesses is online interactions, online engagement with whoever they're in business with, and in the recruitment sector, obviously that's candidates and clients. And through that, I would say that the recruitment website is much more important than ever. It really is the face of your organisation, and it's the way in which you can show what you do and how you do it. Have your clients in the past 6 months had to, I was going to say wake up, but had to change their way in which they use their website in a way that they've not done before?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's be honest, most recruitment websites historically have been dedicated to candidate attraction and candidate conversions. And where we're in a time at the moment where candidates are a little bit more readily available perhaps than they were 6 months, 9 months. I can't remember how long we've been in this process now, or this situation now.
17 years.
Yeah, it feels like it, doesn't it? It feels like it. And what we've seen is that our clients are trying to find ways to create new business. So how they can engage with clients on a different way, and how they can start to generate client leads. So there's been a bit of a shift change. So we had quite a number of customers come to us during the lockdown process saying, listen, how do we set our website up to cater for this? And there are a number of tricks and traits that we can start to sort of implement. And the first one was actually to look at the navigation of the website. because it's a very simple one and a very straightforward one to amend, right? And the clients could actually do it themselves via the platform. But when we look at websites prior to COVID, everything was candidate driven, navigation was candidate driven, it was always front and center. Now our clients are looking to try and achieve ways to put the clients first a little bit more. And so looking at navigation, how they could change navigation, looking at sort of more content, but gated content for engagement and generating leads. And we started introducing a couple of new features actually to the product. And one of them was around sort of almost a backwards job search, but for searching for clients, searching for candidates, sorry. So a recruiter could go on, or a marketing team could go on, and they could publish their hot candidates to the website. And there'd be a search in a way that you would search for jobs, but you're searching for candidates. And then there's then the ability for a hiring manager or an employer to sort of view a candidate, might be anonymized, probably will be, and then make engagement with that recruitment organization, saying this person looks absolutely perfect for this job we've got. Can we have a bit more, a few more details? And we're then urging the marketing teams of the people that were running that to actually market those candidates out via social in the way that they typically market jobs, right? So the consultant receives a job spec, they put it on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, they drive the traffic back into their website. And we were sort of urging people to say, well, put your candidates on there and then market them that way. Let's start specking out candidates, but using social and using your website to really help you with that. So there have been a couple of the changes. And we've also seen with some of the bigger agencies and the ones that have maybe sort of smaller or mini RPO type setups, the introduction of sort of dedicated client branded pages as well within the site, almost a micro client site. Again, for sort of either going in to pitch for business slightly differently and creating a bit of a differentiation, or alternatively for driving candidates back to those types of roles. And that's been sort of a bit of the change that we've been receiving.
I have to say, I hadn't really thought about that before. I mean, we're all aware of flipping markets where they go from candidate-led to client-led, and supply and demand has obviously been turned on its head in the past 6 months. But then flipping that through to, or taking that through to the navigation on the site, and as you say, putting great candidates in the shop window, if you like, anonymized, but showing your wares to use that as an in to clients, and show how good you can be as a recruitment company. So can I go back a little bit to the history of Volcanic? Volcanic have obviously been around for, what is it, 8 years, more than that now?
I think it's 8 years. 8 years. So I joined Volcanic really in its early infancy. We were really a technology business. We were a consultancy business very early on, actually. We were providing consultancy for all markets. And so 8 years ago, Volcanic wasn't just dedicated to building website technology and websites for recruiters. We had some sort of corporate rewards work. But the sort of aim of Volcanic was always to build a product. The two founders, original founders that we had, they wanted to build a software business, right? So we found then that we started building sites for recruitment organizations, and they started to snowball a little. We did 1, we did 2, we did 3, we did 4. And that's where sort of the SaaS sort of multi-tenancy system really started to grow. We decided that if we were going to go into this market, we didn't want to build a website once. We didn't want to build a product once and it be sort of isolated. We wanted to build a product that we could continually update and continually change. And through the multi-tenancy approach meant that we can push out those updates and those changes to the client base. So we were really a technology-first business. And going back to my sort of experience with Volcanic and where I started, I remember very, very vividly actually joining the business, and it was an exciting time. We were 22 staff, all mainly developers with a couple of project managers and a couple of designers. We had a customer success director, but no real sales function. And we had 22 staff above a coffee shop in Stockport. We sort of over the 3 years that followed, we ended up growing exponentially, as the market probably knows and probably aware. And fast forward to sort of 2 years ago, this coming February, we'd grown to 103 staff. We had offices, well, we still have offices in Asia and APAC that service that side of the world. We have multiple offices in the UK, and we had a very large team. And February of last year, we were acquired by the Access Group. So, we sort of went that whole sort of process of being a startup and an ambitious startup to being a really ambitious scale up, and then getting acquired by one of the biggest software vendors in the UK. So it's been a real journey, an exciting journey, and we've built now, or we power now over 1,600 different recruitment websites for varying different size businesses across the globe. So clients
from
America,
from little tiny startups to some of the biggest PLCs.
Some of the biggest. I mean, I suppose names like a name drop. Manpower. We deal with about 23 websites. Deal with 23 websites for Manpower across 11 different countries. We've around 15 websites for Kelly Services. We deal with Impellum, AirSwift, NES Global. There is a large number of the enterprises, but as a true SaaS vendor, essentially, we also provide that technology to smaller businesses and growing SMEs. So, 1,600 websites is no mean feat.
Surely quite something.
Yeah, something I'm very proud of. Yeah, exceptionally proud of.
Yeah, and so in getting into this sector 8 years ago, and then from the very earliest days, and then growing. There would be a lot of competition about then, there is now, but of course you've gone from being a newcomer in the market to now being pretty dominant. There are only maybe 3 or 4 major developers in the UK, and as I say, Volcanic, the output you have is prodigious and really quite distinctive. Is there a philosophy that goes behind the way you approach building recruitment websites, and when you speak with clients in the first place, is that something that you get across to them? Yeah,
so I'll go back to what you said about the sort of the number of vendors, and there are obviously some really credible vendors in our space and some great competition. And when we really sort of set up Volcanic to service this market, we decided to do it very differently. The vendors that we sort of had as competition then and still have now focused a lot more on brand and design and how things looked. And we decided that what people really want is great technology, and the market was calling for this. They wanted great technology that would drive behavior, drive success, drive candidate engagement, candidate conversions, drive ROI, and I hate using the word ROI, but I use it a hell of a lot. Drive ROI, and actually be used as a real linchpin to their sort of marketing strategy, and not just being a website that's like a billboard in the desert, so to speak, something that looks pretty, but no one's really engaging with it. No one's really using it. So we took on the approach that we should really be a tech business. And we had some, and we still have some amazing technologists within the organization that created the platform. And then that sort of snowballed really, and integrations and the functionality got better and better and better, and the integrations with other services got better and better and better. So we just approached it very differently, on a very different manner. We also, much like a software vendor, rather than sort of when somebody would go to a website builder, a brand agency, or one of the competitors, they were often greeted by a very heavy onboarding fee, design and development fee. I mean, some of them we've seen, in excess of £60,000-70,000 for the build of sites, and we were like, well, this is a bit perverse. We find this really odd that someone would enter into that arrangement with a vendor, not really knowing whether it was going to work or not, and then spend the rest of the time post live complaining about things not working, and then having the vendor absolutely have to remedy all of the issues. So our approach was always, well, you enter into a relationship with Volcanic, it's simply a monthly fee. We price like a SaaS business, and that really changed things. I mean, we then found that the market really liked it. We had perfect market fit.
I don't think there were many or any others that were doing it at the time.
I still don't think there are now. I mean, I think the challenge was if you are a business that is so reliant on those capital fees, that big build cost, and then you were charged a monthly fee, to actually try and switch and try and go through that approach, they'd end up losing so much money that they just simply couldn't do it. So we're in a really enviable position because we were coming to the market really as a bit of a newbie. We had some good money behind us, and we were doing well, and we decided that was it. We were just going to go for market like that, and it was the catalyst, I would say, to some of the real success that we had early on. Just how we managed to change the whole approach to buying websites, and I think we are responsible for that within the recruitment space. And again, I'm really proud of that. That we don't just innovate on the technology; we innovated how our clients can buy from us, and I think that's something that will live long in terms of the memory of Volcanic. Really,
notoriously, recruitment consultants and agency owners are tight with their cash, careful, you might call them, and they want value for everything, but. If you're looking at building a new recruitment website, and even for a middling size recruitment agency, you're looking at 10 or 20 grand to build a website, and that's cash up front. You pay a certain amount of money down, you pay a certain amount of money when the site launches. It's just too much. It's too much to consider. Whereas if you're in partnership with a developer and you're paying on a subscription basis, then you're involved with them and they are with you. It's an ongoing thing. It's a partnership, and any website should be a living, breathing part of your business that you're actively using. It's not just a brochure website that you build, you put it online, and you leave it there to gather dust. You have to continually work that site, and if you're continually working that site and it's living and breathing, then the subscription model then appears to make much more sense, and it also obviously it spreads the cost. It makes it easier to get into. So a company that's in the earlier days of building, they're not intimidated by that large ticket number.
Yeah, no, I suppose when you talk about brochure websites, there's absolutely a place for that, right? If you are a exec search business, a search and select business, then many of them go down that route. They're not promoting vacancies. They're not too fussed about candidate engagement, candidate conversions. It's more about them, right? However, my thought on it is how do you start to benchmark against the success of it? Are you actually bothered about it or not? Because it's a little bit like having a big billboard. I can use the billboard earlier, but having a big billboard, like a Nike billboard or an Adidas billboard. It's there almost for just brand only, but trying to actually gain any results from that and understanding of those results, you're, one of a better phrase, pissing in the wind a little bit. And this is where technology really helps. So having great technology behind it and having that sort of candidate experience, client experience, and having all of the tracking mechanisms behind the scenes can actually tell you almost pound for pound the revenue that the website's making. We start to engage candidates. They come through the website. They then go into applicant tracking system or CRM. They're tagged with the relevant source codes, whether that's the source code of the website being the conversion or the last click from the traffic source going in as the source code. But you can then truly put it, when they place those candidates, you've got a revenue number against it. So you can then really start to see the benefits of it. And this is where technology really starts to improve that visibility, really.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure the billboard companies would have something to say about it, but when you put an ad on a billboard, then you've no idea how many people go past the billboard or see it and respond to it because they're not clicking on the billboard. You can't track that. But everything on your website absolutely can be counted. So in the early days of speaking with a new client, say recruitment agency X, who are they've got a couple of hundred recruiters and they're speaking with you and you're dealing with them, what's the consultative process you go through? Because I would imagine that the conversation in the very earliest days sets the tone for how you're going to build that website and achieve their goals.
I think that there's various levels of consultancy-led approach. The first actually starts with me and my team. So it's having a skilled team that understand the inner workings really of website technology and the marketing approach that a website can have for a recruitment business. So we want to really try and understand how the existing infrastructure, existing website and so on is performing. We then want to look at the conversion rates, we want to look at traffic levels, we want to look at why the website's maybe not performing as high as it should do. And then we can start to make suggestions in terms of, have you thought about this? And if you did this, it will do this. And so by getting under the skin of where they have been, and I actually talked about this a little bit on a session I did with members only actually earlier this week, but having an understanding of where they have been allows us to consult about how we can start to push things forward.
So you've got a benchmark.
We've got a benchmark. And without that benchmark, how do you ever know whether there's an improvement, right? So it's absolutely imperative that we understand where they are, what challenges they're facing, and how we can solve those challenges, whether that's challenges candidates, whether that challenges workflow and process, whether that challenges clients. So it's important for us to do a deep dive discovery through the sales process to really truly understand how we can help that customer. And it might be that we can't, right? We can't help every recruitment organization because they might have a very different approach. We talk about those brochure sites. We wouldn't entertain it. There's just no value in it for the client to start to work with Volcanic for brochure sites, right?
Yeah.
So it really starts with the sales process and truly understanding that part. Once we've gone through the sales process, obviously gets handed over to our team within ops, and dependent upon range. And you know, Stephen, we've got 2 ranges within Volcanic, almost 2.5 actually. So we've got Go, Pro, and now we've got Pro for Enterprise. So dependent upon the level, and I'll talk more about Pro than Go. Go is a themed-based delivery, which is mainly for startups or smaller recruitment organizations looking to access.
It's more accessible.
It is, yeah, looking to access Volcanic's technology and have best-in-breed tech, but at an affordable cost. It's sort of a bit more of a streamlined delivery. But if we talk about Pro, it's a creative delivery. So it starts with really understanding the requirements of a client, and by asking a lot of questions of them, whether that's face-to-face like this, and this is the norm now, face-to-face, face-to-face like this, or whether it's through documentation or both, we start to extract information from them that will allow us to then start the process of the project. So, and then we move on to, much like any traditional web design agency, although we're a tech business, we operate from a front-end point of view like a very traditional web design agency. So we would develop wireframes, sketches of how the website might look, like the architectural drawings of it almost. And from there, we can start to look at things like the call to action buttons, where the job search needs to be. And then by understanding where we've been with our clients in the past, so what's worked and what hasn't worked, we can start to make suggestions based upon those wireframes as to what will convert, how the journey is likely to go. Knowing that candidates, when they land, they position a job search well, don't hide it away, those types of things.
As a new client, then I would be really looking to lean on your expertise as to what works well, and it might be your experience from heat maps of previous sites that have really performed. Yeah,
that's right. I mean, the great thing about Volcanic is the platform is already there. So you're not coming to Volcanic and saying, I need a job search and this is how I want the job search to work, or I need an application process and this is how the application process works. That's an evolving part of the Volcanic platform. It's looking at how it can be improved, and we roll those out those improvements. The very benefit of the Volcanic solution is that bit's already taken care of. Okay, and then it comes down to the design piece, and we have to work with the client. The client has to have a clear indication in their mind about how they want to look visually. If they come to us and just say, go, build a website, it's going to end up a complete travesty. So
I like blue and yellow. Yeah. Do one of those.
Yeah. And believe you me, we've had those fair shares of requests, but they have to come with us with an idea. And that idea could come from, we really like the look of X, Y, and Z. We're trying to achieve this. And we'll ask the questions about how much do you want to focus on candidates? How much do you want to focus on clients? How much do you want to focus on consultants? And all of that great stuff. So then once the wireframes are agreed as between the two parties, us and them, we then move into the aesthetical process. So the graphic designers working on trying to make those wireframes more visually attractive. So almost become a static version of your website. And it's really then that once it's agreed, it goes into the development cycle. So the development team are building through CSS and HTML and adding Java and stuff like that to the site to actually bring it to life. And the configuration and the job search and the navigation and things like that also forms part of that process. Then when we get to towards the end, and I'm sort of walking through the whole journey here, we get towards the end part, it's more about user acceptance testing, it's about our testing, it's about ensuring integrations are now put into place, integrations with CRM or remote posts or various different tracking software. Migration, we go through the migration process, and then we talk about a live date. So it's a fairly streamlined process because we've done it once or twice before. So we don't need to try and reinvent wheels. The wheel's very much there and it's very much turning. So
but there's a science involved where you know the key metrics to aim for, and you know how to measure success and what success is going to look like. So obviously the NORAs are coming up. I've mentioned before that Volcanic always have a significant number of finalists. I'm just double checking the ones that we know of that are finalists this year. NES, Barker Ross, Beyond the Book, LaFosse and Mackledowie. These are all sites that you've been involved in building.
All Volcanic sites,
Yeah, and fabulous they are too. I had a call earlier in the week from, and I forget her name now, but the woman from Beyond the Book, and she was over the moon to be shortlisted as a finalist. Obviously, they're a pretty young company, relatively small, and they put a lot of hours on their side into the building of the site in partnership with yourselves. With a company like that, what would be the challenges, and how exciting is it to have a site launch and then be recognised pretty quickly as hitting the nail on the head?
This is a real great success story, and I think they were a business that clearly knew what they wanted. Having spoken to them, we talked very quickly yesterday, Stephen, and I sort of spoke to the delivery team afterwards about those particular projects, and they had a very clear indication of what they wanted to achieve visually. We knew what they wanted to achieve from a technology point of view, but they had a clear indication of what they wanted to achieve visually, and because of that, the project is an easier one to actually work through. And we set off with the same approach that we do for every client, so wireframes and then designs. But I must admit that the Beyond the Book site is absolutely one of my favourites. I've got a tab on my PC which you won't see, and it's called Good Design. So within my browser, Good Design, it actually sits within the Good Design bucket, so to speak. I love it. I mean, I think it's a tremendous site. And I know the client's been particularly happy with the outcome, and we're looking forward to just now starting to see the results from it. It's one good thing having a great looking website. But if that great looking website isn't achieving those results, then it's almost worthless having it in the first place, right?
Absolutely. One of the things, and people who know me know I'm bang on about this, but one of the things that really jumps out for me about the Beyond the Book website, and I should say they're a finalist. We've no idea who the winners are going to be, not until the 10th of November. But from my perspective, one of the great things about Beyond the Book is the personality stamped all over it. It's very welcoming. It's got loads of information and detail in there. You can get what you want to going in there fast and leaving again, but if you want to dig down, then there's lots of information in there. And the detail on the individuals involved in the business, the recruiters in the whole team are all there. So I can find out exactly who's the expert in this company on this particular sector, which recruiter do I want to approach and tap their expertise, because I want career advice. I want them to point me in the right direction. I know that they know the market intimately, so that's the person I need to speak with. But equally, every vacancy on the site, it says which recruiter's working on that vacancy. And when I go to the profile of the recruiters, it shows all the vacancies that recruiter is working on. So as a candidate, I can understand the person I'm going to approach, the recruitment consultant that I want to work with. And it allows the individual recruiters to profile themselves in a way that they can't do anywhere else, even on LinkedIn. When you want to show off a little about your expertise, how long you've been in the business, what sort of clients you deal with, and so on, then being able to do that on your own website is the natural place for it, and that's where candidates get that information. So. Yeah, there's a lot of things about the Beyond the Book website that really stand out for me, but it's so usable and approachable and really mobile friendly.
Well, it's those sort of consultant pages really that I'm a big fan of at the moment, and we go into we see so many talks now about building personal brand within recruitment. There's people out there that will help with this, but personal brand is a huge thing within recruitment. It never necessarily was back when I was a recruiter many moons ago. It was just doing your job right. But now having this personal brand will absolutely benefit the individual in terms of their billings, but also benefit the recruitment business in terms of their billings as well, right? And the great thing about these sort of meet the team recruiter profile pages is if that candidate or that consultant, has built their own personal brand, and somebody comes on Google and starts searching for that recruiter, they're not necessarily just landing on the LinkedIn profile. And we've got many of these occasions where the consultant pages are appearing above the LinkedIn search when you search their name, which means that when the traffic actually arrives, when the traffic actually arrives on the site, they're greeted by your recruitment brand. But that personal brand sat within the recruitment brand, and it's all powered by tag management as well. So the consultants, as you rightly said, will appear against the jobs, but on the consultant profile pages, you'll also have their blog articles, their news articles, potentially their events, their testimonials, their jobs. And all the administrator needs to do is just tag it when they're loading it, and it automatically distributes it to those pages. It becomes a hub for the consultant's personal brand, essentially.
And so great recruiters, they do build their own brand, and we've always known when a great recruiter moves from one company to another, they often take candidates and clients with them. But putting that to one side, great recruiters, they lend their reputation to the agency they're working with, and it's it goes back and forward. And in years gone by, agencies were loath to put recruiters front and centre because they thought they would be poached by elsewhere. Now, the names of your recruiters are not a secret to your competitors, so the only people you're keeping that information from is candidates, and that's where the advantage is in showing it to candidates. I had the website I launched in 2000, and in that website there was a database of every agency in the country, and we had profiles of about 10 or 12,000 individual recruiters, and the idea was to do exactly that. But I was shot down for it. Agencies weren't keen on their consultants being listed on a database, and this was long before LinkedIn. LinkedIn is now the biggest database of every recruiter in the world.
Yeah, it is.
But in those days, you can't do that. But for the benefit of candidates, then doing that sort of thing is one of the great ways, especially small and medium-sized recruitment companies can lean on the expertise and showcase the expertise of the recruitment consultants, which demonstrates the expertise of the agency. I love that, and there are, as I say, a number of websites you've got that are finalists this year that are all great and distinctive in their own way, and it's going to be really competitive each year. I should say, for the best small recruitment agency award, we have more nominations for that award than any other. This year, I think we had over 140 recruitment websites were nominated. So that's boiled into 8 finalists. So getting to be one of those 8 is a big deal.
And achievement,
and our best small employer award this year, and it is always the case because recruitment agencies should know what they're doing. But the best small employer award is dominated by recruitment agencies as well, because they know what to do to build a good recruitment website that shows their brand as an employer. So very best of luck, I should say. I'm just watching the time there. Very best of luck for your sites that have been shortlisted as finalists.
Thank you.
I know we're going to be doing another show in the coming weeks where we're going to focus on one of those companies that you've got as finalists for the NORAs this year. We'll pin down a date and who exactly that's going to be in the next few days. But in the meantime, Darren, I have to say, it's an absolute pleasure having you on.
Pleasure's mine.
And best of luck with your sites for the NORAs on the 10th of November.
Fingers crossed, and I'll see you on the 10th. I think it's 3 o'clock starts, isn't it, Simon?
It's 3 o'clock start. It should go on for a couple of hours. We're looking to make it quite different. The NORAs event is always different to your traditional awards events, so we're hoping to do exactly that and make it quite distinctive. It's not the first time it's been online, because the NORAs were entirely online up until 2007, when we then started to have events. So we're kind of going back to what we were before. And in the week, about a week or 10 days after the awards, I'm personally going to be travelling the country to present the trophies in person, suitably wiped down with bleach or something to the winners. So it won't finish on the day itself. But I'm really looking forward to that. But in the meantime, Darren and Volcanic, thank you very much for being my guest today.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Okay.
Thanks,
Bye, everyone. Thanks, everyone,
Bye.
for tuning in. Thank you. Bye-bye.